It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here. Richard Campbell's here. We'll have their reaction to Google's AI announcements. We'll also talk about Patch Tuesday. Windows 11 gets a feature Microsoft was awfully quiet about, says Paul Thurrott. And the EU, it looks like they're going to approve the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Can the Brits be far behind? All of that coming up and a lot more next with Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love
from people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell. Episode 828, recorded Wednesday, May 10th, 2023, by Mennen. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Lenovo, orchestrated by the experts at CDW to help transform your organization with Lenovo ThinkPads, equipped with the Intel Evo platform for effortless connectivity and collaboration from anywhere. Learn more at cdw.com/Lenovo client. And by Collide. Collide is a device trust solution that ensures that if a device isn't secure, it can't access your apps. It's zero trust for Okta. Visit collide.com/WW and book a demo today. And by AWS Insiders Podcast. Search for AWS Insiders in your podcast player or visit cloudfix.aurea.com/podcast. We'll also include a link in the show notes. And thanks to AWS Insiders for their support. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft. Yeah, we're starting a little late because there was a lot of non-news from Google, but we're here now. Paul Thurrott, Thurrott.com. He's rested, tan, relaxed, ready to run. Thurrott.com is his website, leanpub.com for the books. Richard Campbell's in the Netherlands. He's joining us from Lakmakaka, some planet in the Tatooine galaxy.
There you go.
What is it, Alkmaar?
Alkmaar, yes.
And you're there for a conference? What are you doing?
I'm visiting friends. Next week I'll be in Antwerp for the conference.
Oh, nice. Pick up some jewels for me, will you?
I'll do what we can do.
Yeah.
A little train ride.
Yeah. Actually, this looks just like your house.
They have cute blue and yellow trains you can take.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great. We are going to talk about, let's start off with Windows 11, kids. Although before we go, I know you must have taken a nap during that Google I/O keynote, Paul, because usually I expect snarky tweets.
Yeah.
And I saw nothing.
Yep.
So just give me a little snark, will you? Just a palate cleanser.
I have to say, honestly, compared to their previous AI nonsense, I thought this one came off pretty well.
They were clearly, a lot of the keynote to me was their response to Microsoft on AI and their response to Apple on Android. And I guess the position I expect them to take, which is Microsoft's moving way too fast. We're going to be the responsible AI company.
There's a lot of sentences that could have been ended, unlike Microsoft.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's true. These events, I go back and rewatch these. This is common for me. I did watch the whole thing. I did almost fall asleep in the AI part of it, but that's because I was laying on a bed. That was maybe a stupid decision on my part, but it went on longer than I thought it was going to.
It was very long, longer than anybody thought, and that's why we're starting an hour and a half late on the show, and I apologize.
Yeah. When they finally got to devices at like 25 of 3 or whatever, I was like, this is not going well.
They did 80 minutes announcing at least 7 new names for the same product, the same AI
that's
product.
True. Yep. So, I'll say this: I was briefed on a bunch of the developer announcements that are going to occur later in this hour and later in this day.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more going on than just the AI stuff.
Good.
So there's some interesting stuff. But
Flutter news.
Everyone's like, yep.
That kind of thing.
Flutter, Jetpack Compose, Wear OS, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But I look forward to this kind of thing. I really like the developer shows. I think Google I/O and Microsoft Build kind of track each other pretty well. They're both my favorite shows, events that these guys do.
Build's coming up in a month, right?
Build is coming up
a few weeks.
In a few weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Should we do? Unfortunately, it's Tuesday at 11, which is normally when we do Mac Break Weekly. But should we?
Right.
Reorganize a schedule and cover that keynote? You think it'll be worth it?
Let me talk to you offline about that.
Okay.
And we'll
talk in private.
Yeah.
I will get a briefing from a source, a reliable source with knowledge of the situation.
Yeah. Yes. Let's see what happens.
Okay. Yeah. I don't, there's some builds I wish we'd done it and didn't. And then some builds we did it and I wish we hadn't.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one it's going to be on that scale.
I'll just say build is possible. I can't say. I don't know. We'll see.
Say nothing. We'll talk in private. Yeah. All right. Enough of that. Enough fumfering around. Let's talk about Windows. There was a Patch Tuesday.
Yeah. So we just said nothing about Google. Let's say nothing about Patch Tuesday.
Is there nothing to say?
No, there is something to say. So we've been talking about this notion of preview updates coming 2 weeks before the Patch Tuesday, right? So 2 weeks ago, yesterday, we got the preview version of that update that you installed on the show, where it installs a little toggle button in Windows Update that says something to the tune of, hey, click this if you want to get updates as quickly as possible. And at the time of that preview update, they kind of documented it. There's a page up in Microsoft Knowledge Base or Microsoft Support Now. They kind of explained what it was, and they're like, okay, whatever. I want to make sure I get updates as quick as possible. There's nothing wrong with that. But then what you find out is that it's actually part of this thing called Controlled Feature Rollout, CFR, which is I believe we talked about last week. And this is Microsoft's program to push non-tested feature updates to mainstream users in Windows 11 Stable, as I call it. They're bypassing the Windows Insider program. And this opens up a whole kind of can of worms in a debate. And the big example we have of a CFR is that search pill that we always talk about. And the search pill, I can't say that it introduced any reliability issues into Windows, but it was unexpected. It was unannounced. They never even said they were doing it. It just appeared one day on some computers, but not others. And we didn't know why. I remember it was kind of mysterious. It did introduce a functional regression, which, I think is a problem, frankly.
So and this is all of Windows 11.
What's that?
Wasn't that all of Windows 11?
Yes. Well, it was very much in keeping with
Now, you said before the show, Richard, 11. You had 4 blue screens in a row. Was that the regression?
No, that was a third-party piece of software that broke stuff.
No, this was a small thing. So I guess for right now, all we can do is kind of wonder what form future CFRs will take, right? And I actually don't believe
if the search pill was the original experiment. Yeah, that they're now going to follow more policy around this. Like it seemed like they were winging that one, and hopefully that will
totally makes sense. Winging it. So Microsoft describes this in a more formal fashion than winging it, but I think the net result is the same. I think what you've just said is completely accurate, right? It's like winging it. When a new feature update comes out every year, capital F, capital U, which is beautiful. Microsoft does a controlled rollout of that thing, right? They have known good configurations that should have good results. They roll it out to those PCs first, right? And then they expand the pool over time. And I don't know the exact timing, but let's say sometime around March-ish this year, which is about 5 months after Windows 11 22H2 came out, they announced this thing is now broadly available. In other words, there are no blockers left to prevent anyone with a compatible PC from getting this. And that's about how long that takes. But a feature update, a big feature update, an actual annual update, has all kinds of things going on. It's not a little feature in the taskbar or wherever else in the system. It's a big thing. So the notion that these little features will be rolled out using similar methodology is sort of fanciful, right? Because there's nothing about a particular person's configuration that will make this feature work or not work better than someone else's computer, right? It's just a little feature of the OS. It's a small thing. So
but you're also getting the truth here, which is that the update mechanism is being used for a lot of stuff.
Yes.
We do need security patches early and often.
Yeah.
It's hard to get only those and not search pill.
It's impossible, is what it is, right? That's the problem. In fact, Microsoft's language on this is kind of interesting because when they announced the new schedule for preview update, that's 2 weeks between one Patch Tuesday and the next, they referred to those Patch Tuesday, these week B updates, as mandatory, right? There is no way to avoid it. It's a non-security update, but it is mandatory, right? You can't
for consumers,
avoid
of course, right? Like
exactly.
over in IT land, we have the new auto patch, which you can actually sort of set automation levels on whether or not these patches should be included automatically. Those ones shouldn't. You just hope that they actually label everything correctly.
I wouldn't hope for that, but yeah, okay. But yeah, okay. I guess the debate here is over whether there will ever be consumer harm from this, or what is the harm, and I think the greatest harm you can do as a platform maker is to release unannounced and unwanted and unbidden and without any way to prevent it, changes to a system on normal people, or non-technical people. These are individuals like my wife or my mother or my brother or, friends I have who are not technical, who are out in the world and they're not actively involved in technology, don't care about it. They're not actively updating their computer, but they walk in one day and their computer has rebooted because that's what mandatory means. It's going to happen.
Right. And when they get fired up, their cheese is moved.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, and in technical circles, we have this debate over whether, is there any harm? And it's like, well, maybe not for us, right? We know how to work around problems. We know how to fix things. Sure. But I'm not complaining for me. I'm concerned for, the other 99%, right?
It's not your machine. It's all the phone calls you're about to get.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I do have that one example where in this case, I was writing a book about Windows 11 and I'm like, this is really strange. This thing no one has ever announced or tested has started appearing on some of my computers, but not others, So there's that's the willy-nilly aspect of this. Anyway, this is now official. So a couple of months, they've been
applied willy-nilly is what you're saying.
Yeah. You kind of referenced the notion that the search bill was maybe the first implementation of the CFR thing. And I think you're right. But there's clearly, after the first year of Windows 11, it's clear to me now that Microsoft internally has said, we're not updating this thing fast enough. There were a bunch of things we needed to do to fix Windows 11, and a year went by and we did a few things. We need to have a better system. And I think they looked at different ways of doing that. And what they've arrived at is this preview update system combined with CFR, because it's tied to CFR. And then they're going to do these smaller things. So there's we have feature updates, capital F, capital E. We have moments, which are a collection of features. But I think we're going to have individual features just popping in every month. I think that's going to be the way it is, so it's okay. I mean, I don't mean to suggest it's, well, maybe I do. I guess we don't know. So we'll see. So 2 weeks from now,
we'll see how they abuse it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's always the question, is some PM taking advantage of the mechanism to get their feature out outside of normal channels?
The other thing is we'll see how they do it. So far, the CFR usage we've seen, so to speak, has been stuff they've never really tested, right? So it's just appeared out of thin air, it seems, right? Mm. There is this formal process with the Windows Insider program. We have a long list of essentially uninteresting updates that have appeared across all of the channels of the Windows Insider program over the past week. It's possible that one or two or some number of those features may appear next month, the month after that, as a CFR. Like maybe they will pluck individual features and they will change the way they do things. But so far, it's been untested features. And the famous one, the search bill, of course, like I said, came with that functional regression. And this is the type of thing that happens when you don't test something. I don't. And by the way, it's not like they fixed it a month later. The search pill wasn't fixed until March, right? When they released the new version of the search bar. Yeah. Yep. So again, no one lost any data or whatever. So it wasn't unreliable to that degree, but it is a concern. So anyway, everyone suck it up, install the update, and we'll all ride on this roller coaster ride to who knows where together, I guess. That's what we're doing.
All right.
Yep.
So now, it says one new feature that Microsoft was quiet about? Did I miss?
No, this is the thing, the toggle that you installed last week.
Oh,
Mhm.
I already got that one. So everybody else got it now.
Yeah, so that was when you installed it. It was a preview version. You actually, interestingly, you still have to install the stable version of it.
Oh, how funny! Did everybody get the preview version though?
No, previews, thank God, are optional and and manual. So you have.
Oh, that's right. I said, yeah, I'll take it.
You have to take it.
But now everybody has to have it.
Select it. That's right. Now it's mandatory.
I get it.
Yep.
All right. Sorry,
No, it's okay.
I'm still thinking about Google AI.
Yeah. Literally, as this segment started, I thought to myself, how am I going to wrap myself around Microsoft again after 2 hours of Google AI?
No, come on. I think you just enjoy it. It's great.
At
least there's leadership at Microsoft. I really feel like Google is just a bunch of different people doing whatever the hell they want.
Certainly how that keynote felt.
Yeah.
Sundar Pichai comes off as a good guy. Not to get off on a tangent, but I was
he's
wondering
too nice.
If maybe he wasn't the right guy for this.
Right.
Because they're going to war. They need someone who maybe is more of a MacArthur.
They need a wartime consigliere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, out there, their primary revenue source has been threatened. They don't seem to be reacting that way particularly well.
Yeah. I slow and steady wins the race, I think is the theory. I don't know. Anyone who's ever watched a race will tell you that's not actually how races are won.
No.
And I know there's a fun fable about a fox and a rabbit and a hare or whatever, but that's a children's story. That's
the tortoise never really wins.
You're surprised how the hare really does most of the time.
Yeah.
I know. I'm an F1 fan. I know who wins.
Yeah. Anyhow, he may be the wrong person, but we'll see. So I don't want to beat to death too much. I have three actually four stories here. They're kind of related to the Insider program and things that Microsoft is testing. And honestly, I can't say that a lot of it is super interesting. They continue to test and change widgets. There's new widgets coming, new ways of displaying widgets, and so on and so forth. I think the one thing that would put widgets over the top is if they would just let people turn off the feed. In other words, maybe there's a point where there are enough. That's funny. I have dual screen, so widgets are appearing on the left screen, but not on the. Okay. Anyway, maybe there's a point where there are enough widgets that I can add that I want. Things like weather and sports or whatever it is, and I can get rid of all the new stuff. That this interface would become truly useful. Like that to me would be fantastic. Until and unless they do that. They can kind of screw around with widgets all they want. I just don't think it matters all that much, right? I mean, who cares if you're just showing me low quality garbage from MSN Start or whatever it's called now. You can keep working on that till you're blue in the face. So it doesn't really matter. But Photo App is getting a new slideshow and spot fixing tool in the beta channel, and that's fantastic. That's an app. That's an app that can be updated on its own. We're all going to get that probably in the next 2 to 4 weeks. There was a sort of fix to that Windows Lapse bug, also in the beta channel. I don't know if you know more about that. I'm sure you know more about it than I do, Richard, but I don't know if there's anything interesting there. But
yeah, it's what happens when a new team takes on an old tool. Yeah. Right. But we talked about this when they first rolled out this official version of Lapse for workstations that would work with 11, and that if you were already in the Lapse ecosystem with the original version, and there were certain configuration issues, you could basically knock the machine off where you just couldn't get into local admin access. And there's some great Reddit threads on that one, let me tell you. And again, it's a classic problem of don't punish the folks that are already committed.
The weird thing there is it rolls out. Lapse. This new Lapse had been tested for months and months. It's not like this. They didn't just drop this out.
I just think it was mostly tested on fresh installs. That they're trying to get new people into Lapse. They're not thinking about the people that are already there.
Okay. Yeah.
And so they made some blunders for taking care of the folks that were already in there.
And let's see. And then this is just What goes around comes
I
around.
didn't even want to read this. It just gave me chills.
This is the widget one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
So
What?
I just switched to the word active.
history. Let's say a short history of widgets and Windows, right? Obviously with maybe not obviously, but with IE4, we had something called Active Desktop, and we had something that was sort of like widgets for a little while. And then with Windows Vista, starting with Longhorn, we had the sidebar, and we had widgets in the sidebar. And I think those were actually, in some ways, very similar to what we have today, because I believe those were created with HTML and JavaScript.
No. It was ActiveX.
Yeah.
No, I mean the Vista one.
Oh, the Vista one. But the problem with ActiveX is you're basically letting a third party run an arbitrary program on your computer. What could possibly go wrong?
I just give Microsoft credit for getting rid of all those huge security problems really quick.
Wow.
They got to them really early in their history.
Well, they certainly saw it coming. Yeah.
Yeah. So with Windows 7, they changed widgets so they could be on the desktop, remember? And then we stopped pretending that widgets matter. We went away, and that was the end of that. Well, apparently they're thinking about also we had live tiles. I guess live tiles in Windows 10 and actually Windows 8, right? It was sort of widgety, there's some widget type technology there. It's an app view, if you will.
Microsoft clearly thinks people want little doohickeys on their desktop. Yeah. But now they're HTML. You said they're HTML, JavaScript. They're relatively.
I believe they are. The widget board, and they're constrained. They're confined to the widget board, right? That you have to bring up and see. And this has always been kind of the problem. Like, how do you deal with stuff that you don't see all the time? I think this was the problem with live tiles in Windows 10, and I guess in Windows 8 as well. Assuming you were using a traditional desktop computer, which is that. I'm looking at the desktop, and the thing where this live information is happening is hidden, So now they're talking about putting them back on the desktop. So it's possible in Windows 11 v 23 H2 whatever. Maybe you don't have to have the widget port open. So I guess we keep playing with this. I can't say that I'm excited, but anyway. And then last week, I think it was, we talked about Intel and AMD and their earnings, right? And how bad that was. Or
lack thereof.
Yeah. Well, Qualcomm is doing great. Oh, no, wait. No, they aren't. Qualcomm, although Qualcomm revenues actually fell less as a percentage than Intel or AMD's, 17% down, $9.28 billion in the quarter ending March 26th. Qualcomm, of course, doesn't just make, what I would call microprocessors, but SoCs, but they also make other chipsets. So they're
lots of modem chipsets, radio.
Yeah.
Well, and their big business is licensing their patents.
Yeah. Well, that is also one of their businesses. That's true. And Apple's one of their customers for now. I mean, until Apple figures out modems or whatever it is. No, is it modems?
Because they own. Modems. So Qualcomm owned CDMA. They owned. They own the technologies that are in all smartphones right now, right?
Yeah. This is right, but I think the only Qualcomm chipset that's in an Apple phone is the modem.
And Apple's quickly.
Apple bought. Remember, they bought Intel's.
Right. First, they used Intel's. Intel's modems were so bad.
They were terrible. Yeah.
They had to slow Qualcomm's down because the same year iPhone had both. One or the other, and they didn't want one set of them to be much faster than the other.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's still the case, but they're working as fast as their little Apple-y feet can run to make new Apple only modems.
Yeah, so Qualcomm, unfortunately, because they're in the smartphone space and tablet space, right? Those markets have declined in recent years, just like the PC market. They're bigger markets, but they've been down big as well. And unlike with the PC market, where AMD and Intel both said we see the second half of the year as being kind of a rebound, not a rebound to pandemic levels, but
do they break out? I mean, I see in your article it says the Furman's earned $6.1 billion related to smartphone chipsets, but is that manufacture and sale of smartphone chipsets, or does that include licenses? Because I have a feeling
licenses is. Well, okay. So when you said licenses, you clicked something in the back of my brain, because I wrote this article. I didn't mention anything about licensing, right? So in the past, they always called that out. And I don't mean every single quarter. I mean, they used to call that out, and then you're right. It's at some point they've stopped talking, or I missed it, or something. If it is in there, it is a very small part of the business. So,
or they do what Microsoft, Apple, and a lot of other companies do now, and roll that into some other larger category, like, for instance,
no, I think
chipset.
So I think I dismissed it. So I believe that they have two main businesses. So QCT, which I think is the chipset stuff.
That's
so
right. They spun it out, didn't they? Yeah, that's right.
And then QTL.
Right.
So actually, they're I don't see it for the current. Where is it? Sorry.
Maybe I
don't see it for the current quarter. But I'll just put it this way: their guidance for the current quarter is that they'll make somewhere around $7 billion in revenues from chipsets, and somewhere around 1 to 1.25, or I guess it's 1.35 in licensing revenue. So that's how those things compare.
All right.
So it's still there. Yeah, it's still there. But actually, it's not in there. It's not in there. Unless I'm missing. I don't see it in their.
Maybe they report
results
separately because they did.
No, they have it for their business in the business outlook section. They call it out, and in the current quarter they do not. So that's why I missed it. I still don't see it actually. Yeah, so that's how I missed it.
Well, they didn't make $7 billion in chipsets. They made 6.1, so they didn't live up to their predictions.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to think that licensing is becoming less and less valuable as companies like Apple try to go their own way. Although, even if Apple makes a chip, they're going to probably have to license if they want to support CDMA.
You got to remember that. From a what do you call it, like a unit sold perspective, or whatever, a user based perspective, Android's still like 80% of the market. Right. I know it's revenue; it's completely turned around, but they'll still earn something, I would think, from
of course. No, they license it to Samsung and Google and everybody else. Yeah, no, totally.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to slow you down. Continue.
That's all the hardware vendors now. Like, we've gotten through the list of hardware vendors that have been brutalized. Like, I keep saying, are the cloud guys going to?
You got to understand.
I'm convinced.
In my own sort of mini form of Tourette's, there's a time of the quarter, I'll call it, where the results all start coming in, and my life starts to really suck because I have to do math, and it's it's awful. and I always think I'm done. That's the thing. It's like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Apple, Meta, and then a couple small, and I'm like, good, now we're done. Like, nope. Intel, AMD, all right.
It's endless.
And then you're like, all right, we're done now. Nope. Qualcomm. And like these guys, some of them are on skewed, like Nintendo and Sony are also on this list. Like, they do, most of them, like when I write these things, it's like for the quarter ending March 31st is the typical thing. But some of them are like, this one is March 26th. One of the companies, I don't remember which, was April 4th. I don't know. Okay. But then you'll have some weird company. I don't remember which one. There's one company that does their quarterly, and then I do some PC Maker stuff too, I should say. But some of the quarters will be like they'll call it the February quarter, and it's like the February, March, and April is a quarter for them. It's like, guys, could we get on the same cycle here
now?
Because what I don't want is to have to keep writing this stuff, and then like 2 weeks goes by, and then the next cycle starts up again. Like I wish it was all just 1 week, but it gets spread out.
You got to do what Jason Snell does over on our Mac side. He has a website, 6 Colors, and he's just got an Excel macro. He pastes in the numbers. It generates all these color graphs, and that's the blog post. Is the graphs. Nice. Yeah, actually,
I only do that for one thing, and that's PC sales.
That's right.
I only do it once a year in January. So actually, I'm not an Excel guy, right? Obviously, I'm a writer. So every January, eventually IDC and Gartner will both chime in with their results, and I'll put the number. I'll do all the math, and then I have to go. I'll go back to OneDrive from January a year ago. I look for the Excel spreadsheet, I pull it out, make a copy of it, and then I'm like, okay, how to use Excel again?
No, that's right. It's like any language.
To help you.
Yeah,
every
you forget
year.
it.
It's unbelievable. Like it's the only thing I use it for, and every year it's like I've never even seen this program before. What are these squares doing? What is this?
Randall Schwartz, who used to host,
perfect candidate for M365.
For AI.
Yeah,
right. Like
this is why I completely get it. Did
you see the Google Sheets stuff they were doing with AI? I thought that was pretty cool, and the slides. Yeah, anyway, beautiful. Let's take a little break while Paul suffers in silence. How about that?
I never suffer in silence.
What was I thinking? Speaking of hardware manufacturers, I want to talk to you about Lenovo. orchestrated by our sponsor, the experts at CDW. The helpful people at CDW understand as the world changes, your organization has to adapt quickly to be successful. So, how can CDW keep your business ahead of the curve? Well, one way is with Lenovo ThinkPads. I love my ThinkPad. I got it right here. Oh, I love it. These powerful devices deliver the business class performance you're looking for, thanks to Windows 10 and the Intel Evo platform. With your remote teams working across the country and around the world, collaboration, not a problem, because Lenovo ThinkPads keep your organization productive and connected from anywhere. Plus, CDW knows your workforce has different work styles, needs flexibility. That's why Lenovo ThinkPads are equipped with responsive tools and built-in features that let your team work seamlessly across all their favorite tools. Now, think about that for a second. And let's not forget about security. Very important these days, right? These high-performing machines protect at the highest level with built-in hardware to guard against modern threats without slowing your team down. When you need to get more out of your technology, Lenovo makes seamless productivity possible. CDW makes it powerful. Learn more at cdw.com/Lenovo Client. cdw.com/Lenovo Client. We thank CDW and Lenovo for helping keep Windows Weekly rolling. And we invite you to go to that address because that's how you help. cdw.com/Lenovo Client.
I am a font of useless references from the 70s.
Yes.
So rolling this is just what went through my head. And I finally remembered
Rawhide. Keep those doggies rolling, rawhide, in wind and rain and weather, hell bent for leather.
You're going to make me forget the other
one. Your girl is by your side. Oh, sorry. You had another one. What's the other one?
I just forgot it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
Richard said not Sundar, but he said it in a sing-songy voice. So it was like, not Sundar. And I was like, that's an ad from the 70s. And it's like, and I just forgot
I don't know what it is.
I just thought of it.
Not Sundar.
No, it's like, it's Mennen or like,
it's Mennen. It's,
you know, right?
Yeah.
It's something like that, right?
Yeah. Oh, now you got me. The chat room.
It's killing me.
Scooter X has probably already pulled up the by Mennen.
Right. By Mennen. There.
By Mennen.
It was Mennen. I had Mennen in my head. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Shinji and Emen7. They both knew it was Mennen.
This wasn't a great ad because I don't know what Mennen is.
It's an underarm deodorant. You probably don't need it.
There you go. There you go.
Because you smell.
There you go. I smell like a man is what I smell
like. A man.
But by Mennen. There you go. Right.
By Mennen.
That's funny. Thank you. God, that was killing me.
Oh, and then I sang the Rawhide theme for nothing.
I gotta close the ADD loop on that one. You know.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Good luck.
Oh,
wait a minute. Let me see. I could probably find the.
It's tough.
The ad if you want.
I did. I saw it. It's you're right. It's yeah. The
Let's see. Was it the? Oh, maybe it wasn't the underarm deodorant. Maybe it was Mennen's skin bracer
or something. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I love the voice. America wakes up. That's so good.
Those were the good old days.
It's not like those afternoon aftershaves. I need an evening aftershave.
Thanks. I needed that. That was actually the slogan. Thanks. I needed that.
Yeah. I needed that after that Google show. That's what I should have done. Slap some
a skin bracer. You know, I actually
I'm a little on a cut. It'll wake you right up.
Exactly. I tried it because I thought, for a while, I'm sure every man goes through this. I thought, boy, wouldn't it be nice to shave with an electric razor?
Right.
Because I'm cutting my face up.
But then you slapped on that stuff afterwards? Oh, no.
Yep. Well, I think the idea of skin bracer was you put it on, I don't know, before you shave with the electric razor and it helps. But it really didn't. And then you're right. If you do it after you shave.
I literally, sometime in the past 6 months, had a conversation with my wife about, what do you call this? The shampoo. And then what's the stuff you put on after shampoo? I don't even know what it is.
Conditioner.
And I'm like, what is this stuff? What do you use this for? And she's like, are you kidding me? And I said, no, I mean, do you leave it in your hair? Do you rinse it out? She's like, you're 55 years old. You don't know what conditioner is? And I'm like, I see it in the tub. I don't know. What's it here for?
What does it do? All right. I take you back.
Put it in my hair because I wanted shampoo.
I know we shouldn't be doing this because we're running late, but I'm going to take you back to 1979.
Okay.
And see if you recognize this actor in the Mennen ad.
One's too strong, one's too light, one's just wrong.
Oh, that's John Goodman.
That is a skinny,
young John Goodman.
Skinny young John Goodman.
Yeah. Look at him.
A lot of hair.
Skin Bracer's got the nice, clean smell you're looking for in an aftershave. Skin Bracer's got those skin
that's
tighteners
amazing.
and chin chillers that really wake you up. And there's nothing heavy.
You recognize the smile, right?
Yeah, it was all downhill for his career after this one, but
Skin Bracer hits you just right.
Just right.
Ow!
We're gonna put some of that on, get some conditioner going.
I did
Start
not.
my
I
day.
tell you, I had no idea that he did the Mennen Skin Bracer ads. That's hysterical. All right, back we go to the excitement of Microsoft 365.
Okay. Well, it is pretty exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. So a couple of big developments this past week. One is that if you were waiting in line to get into the Bing chatbot, no worries now. It's an open preview. Anyone can get in now. There's some, additional capabilities related to, graphical answers and so forth, or creating graphics.
All we care about is the icon here, Paul. Like, are they going to fix the icon?
The icon is still big and blue. Actually, so there was a weird little bit about Microsoft Edge. They mentioned that Microsoft are redesigning Microsoft Edge, which is really interesting because this browser is, become a huge problem with additional features. And this is all they said about it. You'll begin to see. What does that mean? You're just going to start rolling it out?
Yes.
Anyway, you'll begin to see
happen. You are going to be a victim of
this company. A sleeker and enhanced user interface, including a streamlined look, rounded corners, organized containers, and semi-transparent visual elements. That's how they describe it.
Wow.
Okay. So it's fair to say whether you
language for get ready for cheese shuffling.
Yeah. There's a rumor that Microsoft is going to give users the chance to choose which of these kind of superfluous features are in the browser. I welcome that. Maybe that's part of the streamlined, or whatever the hell they said it. Yeah, streamlined look. We'll see. But yeah, I feel like one day someone who's using Edge is going to be like, does this look different? What happened? Is it using conditioner?
What is this?
What is it? What?
Yeah. Conditioner to the shampoo. Is that what happened?
It's using Mennen.
Right. Oh boy.
Thanks. I used to need that.
Thanks. Yeah. I used to need that. Wait a minute. I found it. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Wait a minute. What have I done? Oh, I got it muted. Okay, unmute.
Give you the Edge.
Oh, the Edge.
Give you the Edge.
The Edge.
Speed Stick Super Dry Antiperspirant. By Mennen.
There you go. That's just to reaffirm your memory is not shot.
Yeah, when Richard said that, he woke up this long dead
no wonder.
Cell in the back of my brain somewhere.
There is a Seinfeld episode where Seinfeld's talking to George Costanza, and he said, I don't know how you ever get a date. He says, well, I'm like a commercial jingle. At first you hate it, but then you hear it over and over. You can't forget it. And then he actually sings by Mennen.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
That's hilarious. That's great.
So it's not just you. It's you and George Costanza.
No one's stuck in there. Yeah. It's like a little cancer. You don't have to get rid of it.
All right.
Okay.
Yes. Serious now.
Okay.
Let's get serious.
All right. So we can do this. So we just watched the Google event, and a big chunk of it was this AI stuff. And to me,
it's really catch up to Microsoft. Totally.
Yeah.
They were, it's clear from watching the event, they were shaking in their boots.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
And they felt like we got to respond to this.
Okay. I mean, I'm less cynically, Leo, I would say that both Microsoft and Google are in the same place. They have the same kind of back end capabilities. They have a lot of the same front end productivity capabilities. I think we're going to see some overlap, I think I think they're both going to do pretty well in the productivity stuff. I think Microsoft, just by virtue of the fact they have a bigger market or usage share, whatever, will have more of an impact there. I think Google's going to have more impact on the search stuff. We'll see. But it was hard not to think of Microsoft during the Google Workspace part of the show, which I think was right near the beginning. And they were talking about how you could use it in Gmail to help you write emails, and how you could use it in Docs to help you write documents. How you could use it, in spreadsheets in whatever the slides thing is called, the presentation package, to create, talking points based on the slides and all that stuff. And I'm like, yep, this is exactly what Microsoft is doing in Microsoft 365. And they just expanded the Copilot to a broader set of commercial customers. And that's exactly what you're seeing. DALL-E integration in PowerPoint, the ability for this thing to rewrite slides for you in PowerPoint. So if you have a bunch of bullet points, it will turn it into a paragraph of text, which is exactly what Google just showed off. Suggestions in Outlook, et cetera, et cetera. So, these things. This is an arms race. There's no doubt about it. I think the thing that's interesting about it is that I don't know that there's a clear winner, across the board. I don't think it's like Microsoft wins AI.
It's not a tortoise and a hare thing to call back to your previous thoughts. They're much more it's a race like between equals.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's going to be a lot of companies, I guess, that finish the marathon. That come through with some form of AI functionality in their products. So you're going to see this everywhere.
And actually, I think a question of what are they using on the back end, right? I mean, OpenAI, all of ChatGPT, all got implemented against Azure. They originally weren't. Part of Microsoft spending money on them was to get them to move to Azure.
Right.
And the big thing with large language models is they are computationally intensive. So only the big cloud vendors are going to be able to host these things realistically. They're going to license it out to others.
That's right.
So you can go use OpenAI in both the Azure way and others. So that but in the end, you're just consuming Azure, which is what Microsoft wanted in the first place.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's a perception problem or a perception thing where front-facing services that are popular are going to live or die on AI now, right? So let's say Google Search. Google Search is very high profile. Everyone knows about it, billions of users. If Google Search continues to be the market leader, that kind of is the story. They survive this AI thing. They move forward. They have AI capabilities. Great. But I do think, to your point, I think the back end stuff. So if you're Amazon or Microsoft in particular, but also Google to a lesser degree, I think there's great success to be had on the back end by people, other companies adopting your service. So they're using Azure on the back end in this case. And it's some super popular thing.
Talked about much, like M365 is very big on this idea they call the Microsoft Graph, but it's essentially that your organization's entire behavior is manifested inside of M365 between emails and chats and documents and all of those workflows, right? And I presume Google has all of this because of Docs and workspaces and so forth.
They never talk about it, though. They don't really talk about
it. And when you add in this large language model, this Copilot aspect, I mean, what does that really mean? It means that the information worker is literally going to send their intent to a piece of software that then for the day that's then going to help them navigate the tools to be productive. I mean, for starters, that's a great solution for M365 because there's way too many icons I do not know. So there's a tool to help me use those. That's pretty cool.
That's a great solution for Workspace and Microsoft 365. But I think the thing that will set Microsoft apart in that space and the way that they sort of win productivity, if you will, is that that Microsoft Graph bit is all of the permissions and et cetera. So you're not just feeding a large language model into this thing, but this thing has an understanding of, well, this is private company information and this can't go out to a public facing PowerPoint presentation or whatever it is. I think that aspect of it is going to be huge too. And that's where Google, not necessarily, I mean, Google has permissions and whatever, but I don't know that they have anything that's even close to the Microsoft Graph.
Well, and we don't normally talk about the Viva products here anyway. But to me, especially the original Viva line, the experience engagement, learning, all of the insights, those were all things that were actually ways to surface the graph that were kind of non-discriminatory and resisted the creepiness factor. Because they've made several attempts to build tools to utilize the graph that always fell into that uncanny valley of surveillance software.
Right.
And
well, the onboarding stuff is, I don't mean to say easy, but it's an easy win.
Sure.
Hey, Bob, the people in your organization have spent this many minutes in Teams meetings, and you'll notice Sally's lagging a little behind. That stuff is hugely problematic.
Well, and you know, when I was doing real IT work, and goodness knows I don't anymore, one of the things you did was you watched the logs to see who was using what products. Right. And often if you saw someone who just wasn't using a particular product that was important to the organization, you could do targeted training. But as soon as a person's involved in that, you have a discriminatory aspect. So when you go look at the way Viva Learning works, Viva Learning is about expressing algorithms that say, based on utilization, send for training. So it's non-discriminatory.
This is tough because there are actually good reasons to use that data in a way that's meaningful to the company. So for example, Microsoft 365 comes in 117 different tiers. Bob is only using the features that are available in one of the lower tiers. It's not impacting what he has to do for work. That's fine, but we can save money by making sure we're only providing him
down a couple of notches.
That's right.
Or where the tools could turn him up. But to me, the crazy one, the one I'd want to jump on board, is the sentiment analysis of the conversations being had with the Copilot.
Interesting.
Like the ability, you know, when I've been managing software developers, what do I watch? I watch check-ins into the source code repository. Right? Because if you keep interrupting a developer, you slow down their productivity. It's like yanking flowers out of the ground to see how the roots are growing. So you leave them alone, but you watch the check-ins. Right. Because a happy developer checks in several times a day. Some only check in once a day, but they do check in once a day. But here's the more salient part. If they haven't checked any code in 3 days, do you really think on day 4 you're going to get the best check-in known to man?
I think you need to do a proof of life check first. I mean,
that's basically it.
You know, at that point,
I'd like a welfare check on Coder 3.
Yeah. Can we send a police officer over to?
And usually, most of the time, when I stick my head in the door of that particular person, they've got keyboard imprints on their forehead because they've been smashing their heads in the keyboard for days.
Don't you think about stuff though? I mean, sometimes you want to think about something before you write it,
but. You also tend to experiment a little. So you'll kick off a branch and you'll play with some stuff.
Sure, but you won't commit it, will you? I mean,
no. You'll probably kill the branch off.
Right.
But again, for me as an administrator, it's a way for me to watch without interrupting.
You'll see that they're at least doing something.
Yeah. You see, you're just looking for activity.
Spun up, some code got played with, it got knocked out. Like
you're not just looking at commits. You want to see some activity.
But if I see no action on source code for days, then it's a good thing to sort of poke your head in. And I think that's tougher to see with information workers. So the idea that you could have sentiment analysis against the conversations to just say, hey, I think this employee is frustrated, right? Like you should see what they're saying to the Copilot.
Well, okay. When you say sentiment,
give me a gosh darn login.
That's right. Exactly. Is that what you're looking for? You're looking for tone? Is it because I have obviously people who read my website are on the technical side, and I can say one thing they don't like is this comment system we have that is checking for tone and checking for abuse, and and has these words that it doesn't want you to use, and it won't allow certain things through. And man, aren't we all adults here? You know, is the thing I hear a lot, and it's like, no, we're not. That's why it's there, because the thing is, you people go after each other like pit bulls. When something doesn't prevent you from doing it, and now you're just getting mad because something's prevent you from doing it. So it's like you kind of need to have this. That's an interesting thing in a workplace, just for I don't know what you call that, just for the well-being of everybody involved, right? That you don't have the one guy, especially we're not across from each other, and if the internet has taught us anything, is that anyone can be their worst self online very easily.
Yeah, and often.
It seems to be the default posture, unfortunately.
I think it is a cultivated skill to have orthogonality between your digital self and your physical self.
Interesting.
Wow, I'm going to really have to think about that. I'll check in a couple of days, okay? Because
yes, exactly.
I don't know what the hell that means.
I'm going to put on my big thinking hat, and I do my best thinking in the tropics.
Yeah, that's it. I like to have my feet in some sand when I'm thinking. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yep.
Me and Brian Wilson. It does strike me. I was just thinking, this is kind of random, but Microsoft, unlike Google, which has a different name for every possible facet of its AI, right?
I know.
They have so many names. Microsoft is exactly the opposite. Right. Outlook means 20 different things. Copilot now means the GitHub Copilot, but there's also Microsoft. Microsoft acts as like a stingy miser, like, oh, there aren't so many names. We don't. And Google's just like the crazy uncle, just going, here, have a name. Everybody gets a name. It's very odd that they're so opposite.
I was thinking during the Google thing, I'm surprised there were names to take. Actually, they use the name continuity.
Yeah,
guys, that's been used before.
Yeah, Apple uses it.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
It's very strange. I think it's actually a measure. Gosh, this might be overstretching it, but it's a measure of their corporate structure. That on Google, you're rewarded.
Okay. I was going to call it. Okay, no, I think you're on the right path.
For spinning up something new. You're the new thing. You're rewarded for that. Microsoft used to be. This is like the
corporate personality.
It's their personality.
It's driven by the founders in both cases, I think.
Microsoft's
just
more
the mentality
cooperative.
that was kind of laid into the company.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. I don't know that I have the right words for it, but I think you're on the right path.
Not to forget that Microsoft invented Hungarian notation. So they do. That was George Simonyi. Yeah.
And he worked at Microsoft.
Microsoft also had serious problems with naming, like Metro.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
So maybe there's enough legal wrapped around producing a name that the easier.
By the way, it could be that. Could be that. Yep.
Everyone knows the Metro one, but for some reason people forget SkyDrive.
SkyDrive, another great.
Which is
but they got sued by Rupert Murdoch for crying out loud.
I know, it's crazy.
That's goody. So I think the whole idea that you have a name that is already acceptable and you can just stick a word in front of it and it's good. Copilot, all the things.
Wouldn't that be interesting? You might be more not a measure of solidarity, but more a measure of timidness, legal timidness.
In Microsoft's case, with this thing specifically, Copilot, I will just say this: Microsoft does a really bad job at branding, like you said. Yep. This is a great brand. They know that we're using this everywhere.
No, I think you're right.
This is the right brand.
Yeah.
It's just they just
go.
And it's GitHub Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot. Those flavors tell you what you're getting. I mean,
that's right.
Sure. The Copilot's a phenomenal name.
Yeah,
it's such a great name.
A really great product name. It was Silverlight.
Okay, too soon.
You tell me I'm wrong if you like. I'm okay with you
too
being
soon.
wrong.
I liked it when it was called Windows Presentation Foundation Everywhere, but Silverlight was pretty good too.
That was Brad Abrams' line. It's like, if I give it a terrible code name, I get a good.
Well, you got
product.
to tell them why. Explain the Silverlight name and why it was so great, because it is a great name.
This is what's left in an old. You remember the old kind of mechanical flash bulbs that rotated and they
like on a Kodak camera.
Yeah, they had like that long filament that would all go off at once. Yeah.
So when that filament is burned, it's called Silverlight because Silverlight is what comes after flash.
Oh my God! Yeah. Okay, now I did not know that.
Yep,
and that is actually freaking awesome.
Great, isn't it?
That's clever. And Brad, who thought that up? Brad?
I don't know that he thought it up, but he was part of the team. He was the guy who did the original .NET Rocks, where he announced the name and that whole story.
And that's a great example of what Microsoft would have done traditionally, is the name they had originally, Windows Presentation Foundation Everywhere. This totally ponderous name,
WPF.
And
because the code name was Avalon, and Avalon was an awesome name.
Exactly. Yep.
I had no idea Silverlight is what comes after Flash. I wrote that down. That is
it's good stuff.
Awesome.
It's a good one.
See, this is why I like you guys.
By the way, was the open web.
Yeah. Now, you guys have the history in your. You got to tell me the run is the .NET Rocks story sometime too. We'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
I want to hear that. I thought you came up with it.
Nope, that's Carl.
Very good.
Okay.
Meanwhile, back at Microsoft 365.
Where are we?
Project Athena.
So a couple of weeks ago, there was a story about Microsoft working on its own in-house chipsets for its data centers to lower the cost of the cloud computing capabilities necessary for AI. Bloomberg reported this past week that they are partnering with, I should say that chipset, I think is codenamed Athena, which, by the way, is a name Microsoft has used in the past, at least twice. In fact, yes, if I'm not mistaken, Outlook Express, the original, or Microsoft Mail and News, I think that was Athena. And there was also a Project Athena that was a project they were working on with HP to create a modern Longhorn computer that had a phone attached to it with a cord. It's all kinds of stupid stuff now. And now they're using it for this chipset. Anyway, Bloomberg reported that Microsoft is partnering with AMD to bring this thing to market. They cited multiple sources. They had this whole story about it. And then Microsoft came out and said, AMD is a great partner. However, they are not involved in Athena. It was just the shortest quote of all time. So I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means Microsoft is partnering with AMD. See, it doesn't say they're not partnering with them, right? So they're clearly partnering with them on hardware. They do AMD chipsets and some of the Surface devices. They have partnered with them to make sure that future AMD chipsets and actually some current chipsets have that NPU we've been talking about, the neural processing unit, which is for AI. It is possible that Microsoft wants to use AMD in a future Surface device with some kind of NPU from, in an AMD chipset. So maybe that's what that is. I don't know. But apparently what they are not partnering on is the chipset Microsoft's going to use in their data centers. So we shall see.
Okay.
Is it the difference between being involved and being committed?
The difference between the chicken and the ham?
Yeah.
I think the difference is Athena is the wife and AMD is the mistress. No, I don't know. No. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know where you're going with that, but I'm going to stop you right there, buddy boy.
Leo, I'm a little punchy today, but I think it's something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So they're but it sounds. I mean, partnering sounds like they're like AMD's involved, really, right? If they're saying they're not involved.
On some level, Microsoft is partnering with AMD, right, and Intel and Qualcomm, and the only question is what comes out of that. So I think what they got to the heart of was that these guys, there's work going on between these two companies on chipsets that are related to AI.
Okay.
It's not apparently the AI chipsets that are going into Microsoft's
data centers. They quoted the wrong code name, but that's about it.
But the fact that they didn't deny the part on AI chipsets is interesting. I think that is happening. It's just not.
It's just not Athena.
Yeah,
got it.
It's probably,
a client side technology,
or it's Project Zeus, the follow up to Athena. See how we got you there? Right. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Finally. Well, not
and
really.
And this is the greatest headline with the least amount of impact in the real world, but it's controversial. So Microsoft is going to, or has now, as of I think today, started throttling traffic from legacy Exchange servers. Asterisk, right? So it's, first of all,
we knew they were going to do this. They'd warned about this, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
I remember.
So
Steve Gibson was like up in arms over it.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
well, let's cut to the chase of what this is then. So Microsoft is concerned with what they call persistently vulnerable instances of Exchange Server. These are on-premises Exchange servers. They're older versions. It includes versions that are unsupported, right, that are not getting security patches every month, like Exchange Server 2007. But it also includes older, or not even just older, but supported Exchange versions that are significantly behind on the security updates, right? Those are also considered persistently vulnerable. The big asterisk here is that they don't have a way to block traffic from on-premises Exchange servers, right? These are on-premises Exchange servers that are used in a hybrid setup, where the other half of the chain is an Exchange Online instance in the cloud. So you have a business that has part of their email is on this legacy server, but they're still using Exchange Online. Microsoft is blocking the traffic.
And to be clear, it's because there is basically no way to completely shut down your on-premise Exchange.
Okay.
So
there you go. Okay.
If you're doing any management tools or anything like that, where you have to keep the Active Directory for Exchange in place, you have to leave an Exchange server behind.
You have to leave it. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. And honestly,
you're forced into a permanent hybrid state.
I'm guessing that's not what Steve Gibson is outraged by, but that is what people should be outraged by, right? That Microsoft did not give these companies the ability to shift completely to the cloud. But of course, what they don't want to do is hire a guy to just do this, keep charge of this one server and keep it up to date and whatever. So there's a lot of these things out in the world.
I think, look, I understand Microsoft's motivation. This is how there seems to be no other way to get people to update these, manifestly insecure servers.
I would argue they should just be blocking anything hybrid that's not up to date.
No, but see, that's the problem. And so Steve's point is, A, this is Microsoft's fault because those bugs are theirs. And B, Microsoft's breaking email. It's not just breaking somebody's server, it's breaking email.
I'm not defending Microsoft, but I will take their stance and just tell you that one of the problems here is they don't have any way to reach these people.
Right. No,
they don't have a way to.
Yeah.
So they literally said something to the tune of, "This is how we get them to notice us." so we can say, guys, you got to keep this thing up to date, or move on to a newer version or whatever it might be. So this is how they're using this to get their attention. They're not doing it just blanket across the board, right? They're starting with I think it's Exchange 2007. And then they'll move up the chain as they go. They'll broaden.
And as I understand it, there is evidence that exploited old Exchange servers are being used to farm spam into Exchange Online through these hybrid interfaces.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
There certainly is a precedent, black holes and so forth for keeping badly behaved servers out of the internet. I kind of am sympathetic with Microsoft, these servers, but at the same time, Steve's saying, look, you don't break email just because somebody isn't patching a thing you broke in the first place. That was his upset.
Well,
but if they're spewing spam out into the
Exchange
ecosystem,
2007 we're talking about it.
I know it's really old.
16 years old. I mean,
it's fully out of support.
But it's not just punishing the server admin, it's punishing anybody sending email through that server. I guess those are all employees of that company. So.
Right. Because it's only in hybrid, right? Like the bottom line is, if you want to run that old server and run it just through an IMAP interface into Exchange Online, that's fine. They'll treat you as the spammer you are. It's the hybrid interface is the problem. And I would argue they're being too soft on it. That hybrid interface should shut down if you're not in full compliance. Like, there's no reason they couldn't say it has to be 2016 or above, patched to CU 23.
Is Microsoft offering
otherwise go up
patches to those old versions of Exchange?
Not anymore. No.
So they're not. It's not patchable.
Right.
No. Right. And it shouldn't be allowed in hybrid. Full stop.
Right.
Like,
I mean, this is the equivalent of using Windows XP today. It's that old. I mean, it's
you're right.
Well, Vista had just come out, I guess. So maybe Windows Vista, but
nobody used that. So SP3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, XP was in market for probably 5 years past then or more. I don't remember.
But always the question is, do they really have to support a given version indefinitely into new situations that it was never designed for? Arguably their mistake was allowing you to hybridize 2007 at all.
Yeah. Right. There you go.
And again, throttling, not eliminating.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The mail will go through. What they're doing is stopping spam explosions.
Right. Well, that's fair, actually. That's completely fair. Yeah. Let's take a little break. We've got Xbox, we've got tips, and I think we're going to have some time for brown liquor. All coming up in just a little bit. Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell. Windows Weekly is on the air and brought to you this week by Collide. I've talked about Collide before. For people using Okta, Collide is a device trust solution that ensures unsecured devices cannot access your apps. You're going to say, well, wait a minute. We're a zero trust architecture. What are you talking about? Well, that's the problem, see? If you're an Okta user, Collide can get your fleet to 100% compliance by patching what turns out to be one of the biggest holes in zero trust architectures, and that's device compliance. Think about how this works. Your identity provider, Okta, for instance, only lets known devices log in, right, to the apps, to the cloud, to get to your stuff. But let's not forget this. Just because a device is known, that's the DevOps guy's laptop, but we know who he is, doesn't mean it's in a secure state. Oh, turns out he was running an out-of-date, insecure version of Plex. Whoops. Plenty of the devices on your fleet, I bet, should not be allowed into the network. They shouldn't be trusted. Maybe they're running an out-of-date operating system. Maybe they're running Exchange 2007, but maybe they're got unencrypted credentials lying around. If a device isn't compliant or isn't running the Collide agent, that's how this all works, it can't access your organization's SaaS apps or other resources. The device user can't log into your company's cloud apps, not until they fix the problem. They fix the problem on their end. And then that's one of the cool things about Collide. It enlists the end user army to get your system to 100% compliance. I'll give you an example. Let's say an employee doesn't have an up-to-date browser, right? The Collide agent notes that, blocks him from logging. He tries to get in through Okta. Oh, nope, you're not allowed in. And let me tell you why. And this is what Collide does. It's so good. Your browser's out of date, so let me walk you through updating it. End user remediation drives your fleet to 100% compliance, and it doesn't overwhelm your IT team. Plus, there's a benefit because it's the IKEA effect. The user did it, right? Hey, I'm pretty good here. I'm secure. And now they're on your side. They're on your team. Instead of fighting your attempts at compliance, they support it. Without Collide, IT teams just don't have a way to solve these compliance issues or stop insecure devices from logging in. With Collide, you can set and enforce compliance across your entire fleet, completely cross-platform, Mac, Windows, and Linux. Collide's unique in that it makes device compliance part of the authentication process. So when a user logs in with Okta, Collide alerts them to compliance issues and prevents unsecured devices from logging in. And it's security you can feel good about because, well, not only is it taking the load off the shoulders of the IT department, but it puts transparency and respect for users at the center of Collide's product. To sum it up, Collide's method means fewer support tickets, less frustration for you and your team, most importantly, 100% fleet compliance. Patch that hole in zero trust architecture. Visit collide.com/WW, KOLIDE.com/WW. Learn more, book a demo. Collide, KOLIDE.com/WW. We thank Collide for their support of Windows Weekly. You support us when you use that address too. Make sure you do. That way they know you saw it here. KOLIDE.com/WW. Now we have, dessert always comes last on this show. It's time to talk Xbox.
I need something where I can pull a chain and a bunch of confetti comes down from the sky. But basically, writers has reported that Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard will receive the green light from the EU next week.
Oh, yeah, but who cares? Because the Brits are blocking it.
Yeah, Brits, who cares? Does anyone care about the UK? I mean, there's an island. They're an island. I mean,
no, I know, noticed?
No, I know. So, first of all, that's going to be appealed, and it's not done yet. So, we'll see. I think when the rest of the planet kind of aligns up with this thing,
including UK companies like Boosteroid,
even
which is the other thing that keeps happening is more and more European cloud streaming companies are like, what are
you talking about?
Nobody cares.
Yeah,
nobody cares.
So, yeah.
Well, I hope so. I don't know. Wait a minute. What am I saying? I don't have a dog in this hunt. Does it matter? I mean,
I do.
You'd like the story to go away, right? Like this should stop.
No, because if there's no story, then I got nothing to talk about. So
stories. Like I want to see. I want to see an Activision post Bobby Kotick. I want to see Microsoft.
I do want to see Kotick gone. That's for sure. Maybe that's the real.
I want to see Activision titles on Game Pass, right?
Yeah.
And cloud streaming.
So there is a reason to support it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I will say that I don't know if this came up on Windows Weekly. I apologize, but the one thing we maybe shouldn't.
You were here for every show,
there.
dude. What are you talking about?
I don't remember. I've said this out loud. I don't remember if I said it on this show.
Oh,
but
okay.
The one thing for all of the rah-rah stuff around Microsoft, and I feel very strongly that this should be allowed to go through, et cetera, et cetera. There is one thing they have done wrong, and that is they've talked endlessly about how this is all about mobile. Why haven't you done something about mobile? Like, you have a tremendous IP, Halo, Gears of War, Age of Empires, whatever, on it goes. Why aren't you putting that stuff on mobile?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be all based, like, if this doesn't happen, we're screwed in mobile.
It seems like an artificial constraint.
Yeah. This is you have $69 billion to spend on this company.
Yeah.
You couldn't spend a couple of billion porting these games to the iPad.
Microsoft's being a little disingenuous and saying it's all about mobile.
They're on the up and up. It's a good company, good leadership. They got the right policy. They're a company, whatever. The one thing that they do right, I think, is just the general strategy. This is something I was talking to Richard about before the show, and this all comes out of Phil Spencer, and the wake of the debacle that was the Xbox One, right, where they got rid of I just forgot his name.
Red Ring of Death. Phil Spencer?
No, the guy before Phil Spencer. Boy, I'm losing my mind. And it was after the Red Ring of Death. Actually, it was the if you are going to play Xbox in a submarine, you're going to have to use an Xbox 360.
Yeah,
that guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's really turned this business around, and he's made Xbox make sense in this cloud-focused company that is Microsoft, right? I think cloud gaming is good, but Game Pass is better, and I think this is kind of an interesting thing. But anyway,
Jason Holtman.
No.
You think of Don Box?
Oh, Don. It's Don, not Don Box. Don Matrick. Matic.
Don Matrick, right? Sorry, Don Matrick. Yeah, right.
Yes.
He went on to Zynga and didn't last long.
Yeah, that's weird. He was such an effective executive. So anyway, he recently spoke at length about the disappointment of the CMA decision and some of the disappointing reviews on Redfall, a game which we're going to talk about in just a second. And he has come under a lot of fire for this interview.
This is not what I took away from that interview.
No, not at all. The key phrase that people are latching onto is, you just admitted that Xbox is never going to out-console Sony. Thus, you are a failure and you need to be fired. My reaction to that is, excuse me. That was what the strategy admitted 10 years ago, whatever it was. Yeah. And the point of this is, Xbox isn't just going to be about consoles. We're going to go to where gamers are. We're going to bring gaming everywhere. And that's what they've been working on. That, and it's been pretty successful. He's done I think it's Game Pass, or maybe their subscription business in general is going to be $1 billion business this quarter for the first time.
Easy. Well, and the whole point of rolling up these companies is to fill out Game Pass as much as possible.
That's right.
Because that is the end game here.
You make it the no-brainer that Microsoft 365 is. You just make you're like, I have to have this.
If you're crazy, you don't have this. It's a huge number of games.
Now, I just fundamentally disagree with any criticism of him for that. To me,
there's lots of other stuff to be upset about.
Yeah, there is, and we're going to talk about some of that. You just don't get that kind of honesty, from most corporate executives. And he's refreshing. I hope he never leaves. I think he's incredible.
And he clearly loves video gaming, right?
Yep.
Like he's a player.
Yep, that's right.
It's not
that's it.
Fine.
The other disappointment was this game Redfall, which is let me see if I can describe this accurately. An open world vampire shooter, which is,
so you were talking about this before the show. You said it's awful.
So I've read reviews. I've read the consensus of the reviews.
Yeah, me too.
I watched a YouTube video where this guy kind of tore it down and explained why this thing is horrible. And just before the show, I played it. And it's it's so bad. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how bad it is. And I would say
bad
graphically,
bad game, bad graphics,
everything about it. It's not a good game. I'm only playing the single player version. Now, it's possible. I think this kind of game shines when you can find friends to play with and you play together, because you can go on these little, you go through each sequence and you go on quests and do things, whatever. The story is ludicrous. The graphics are terrible. It's unfinished. It is very clearly unfinished. And without having played it, I sort of said a week or two ago, or whenever it happened, I said, this seems like the type of thing that could be fixed over time, right? We've seen this with Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever. It could be fixed over time. Having played it, I still believe that it could be fixed over time. But I have to say, there is no excuse for shipping this game in this state. And the story I told at the beginning, before I think we started the show, was that time you and I, Leo, watched the showcase for Xbox, and they showed Halo Infinite about 2 or 3 months before it was going to come out. And I thought they were showing last gen graphics so they could kind of Wizard of Oz it and have it explode into its 4K wonderfulness. And that is not what happened. And then all of a sudden they delayed it for a year. And when Halo Infinite came out, 15 months later, we'll call it, it still has problems. It still has problems today, but much, much better looking game. And this thing apparently doesn't run at 60 frames a second on a Xbox Series X. Like, guys, I'm sorry, but that's got to be the baseline. You don't release a game like that. That's a flagship title. That was just a huge mistake. So I'm not going to say fire Phil Spencer over that, but that is actually really
shocking. They shipped it. This needed 6 months of development.
But here's the thing: those two stories, Phil Spencer should be fired because he didn't he said we're fail, we're never going to win in consoles, and Redfall being a terrible game. There's a huge overlap here because Redfall proves that Phil Spencer's strategy, which is Xbox Game Pass essentially, is correct. And here's why. This is the first game that Microsoft has sold that cost $70, the first flagship title, right? Sony's been doing that since I think late last year. This is the first big title for $70. Based on a lot of the advanced press and all the excitement over this game, a lot of people would have shoveled whatever the cost is. The only way to try this thing would be to buy it. But because it's on Xbox Game Pass, you could download it to your console. You can play it, not for free. I know you're paying for the subscription, but the subscription, but you get it as part of your prescription. Jesus, I really want to say prescription for some reason. Subscription.
Did some doctor write out a little script for you? You should play it.
No, I wish. I probably did.
Of bad gaming a day and call me in the morning.
If this show has proven anything, I need a prescription. So,
but it's really the case that this is not new. I mean, a lot of the most recent big splash event launches were flops, like Cyberpunk.
Yes, but because this thing is on Game Pass, and by the way, it's also on Xbox Cloud Gaming, which is game streaming. You don't even have to install anything.
Isn't that great?
For me,
yeah.
For me to play this, I just waited 30 seconds or whatever for it to start
cost.
up.
And no,
and then I can see it's a steaming pile of garbage, and now I never have to look at it again.
No, it really solves a problem.
Spend $70 on it.
This has been a problem since gaming began. I remember going to the Atari store and looking at all of these boxes and going, I know 2/3 of them are crap, and I'm wasting my $39.99.
You buy Yar's Revenge because it has an awesome cover, and actually that game was pretty good.
But you just don't know.
But that's how you do it. It's like buying wine. If you don't know what you're doing, you're like, I like the label of this one, and you just kind of taking a chance.
Game Pass. Let's not take it for granted. It's a gamer's paradise, really.
Right. That's right.
And much more so than what Amazon's doing or what Stadia was, because you don't have to buy the game. You buy the pass.
Right. We can blame Phil Spencer for Redfall, I guess, but let's also credit him for Game Pass, because this is the thing that tells us we can skip Redfall.
Right?
Yeah, it's
costing $70.
Let's not forget that.
I also wonder if Redfall, like Cyberpunk, can be fixed, because Cyberpunk was actually a great game with some serious implementation problems.
Yeah, as is often the case, it's released before it's done. Frankly, they rush.
By the way,
it's same.
There's way too much of this going on.
No Man's Sky, the same problem. The Sea of Thieves, kind of sort of the same problem. It's not unusual in gaming that they've spent 4 years and hundreds of millions of dollars, and they just got to ship it, even if it's not done.
I don't understand how this mentality has come up to the forefront again. It's everywhere now. We see it in Windows. This is the complaint about, we're going to test features with individuals in stable, And then if it doesn't work, we'll just fix it later. It's like, guys,
what is? At least they can fix it later. Hollywood puts it a crap movie. It's a crap movie forever.
Well, that's why they have director's cuts and
and it doesn't make a difference.
Bonus
sequels, and sequels.
Nothing's going to save Snyder's Superman. That's all I'm saying.
No, I know. So in a way, I think they're doing it because they can. It's like, well, ship it. We can always fix it later.
They'll push out a patch.
Go back in time to, it would have been, I guess, 2005. And I visited the weird Microsoft campus where the Xbox stuff was at the time, Millennium Campus, I think it was called. And you walk by a 7-foot tall Master Chief and everything, and they're going to show me the Xbox 360, which was not out at the time. They had just shown off what the shell was going to look like at like an event that April or something, but it didn't exist as a console yet. So I got to see a couple of things. I got to play around with an Xbox 360 wireless controller, which compared to the OG Xbox controller is perfect. They got it exactly right. It was like the S controller. And I got to see the development workstation, which was 2 giant Mac G, probably 4, whatever towers, stapled together with cables, and the controller came off of it, and you could play the Xbox on it because it was the same chipset, right? So I was like, I don't understand how are you going to get that thing into this little box? This thing was like this gigantic, the size of a car. And then you get this beautiful little Apple looking device. And they said, we got guys working on that, and the guys who were working on that were responsible for the Red Ring of Death that you just referenced. Like, that's what happened. Like, it turns out doing that is really, really hard. And, but one of the conversations we had on that trip was the Xbox 360 was going to allow game makers for the first time to update games. And so the idea was you go to the store and buy a disc, you bring it home, you install it. And not on day one, because we weren't doing that yet, but at some point there would be updates and they could fix bugs and they could even add features. It was exciting. And I said, aren't you worried that this ability is going to result in a lack of quality of some time? And they said, no. We have a system in place. We're not going to let them ship crap and blah, blah, blah. And here we are. And they're shipping crap, of course. And it's not like it took whatever that is, 18 years or whatever. This happened immediately, right? There were a lot of Xbox 360 games that just shipped out of the gate as crap, and it's just gotten worse. I think I don't understand. I don't understand how we put up with such a lack of quality, across the board, but we do.
Well, and the side of Game Pass is like there's nothing to return now either.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
See, I think that's kind of solves the problem.
I love there's a natural progression here where you can stream it with cloud gaming, just to get an idea. And you're like, okay, yes. Now I'm going to install it using Game Pass because I know I'm going to play this thing. And then maybe a couple of months go by. Maybe at some point it comes out of Game Pass. And now you have an opportunity to buy it. And you can buy it at a discount because you're part of Game Pass, right? And that's the decision. You have this decision-making process you can make all along the way. If this game is so valuable to you that you can't stop playing it, now it's not even on Game Pass anymore. Now you know. It's the perfect vetting process.
You actually did make the case for what I asked you earlier, the Activision merger.
Right.
That's actually a really good point. This is how games should be delivered.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Can Microsoft, are they making money at it? I mean, is it
good question?
Because so they make
well,
that's the question. If you release a game for $60,
so
one time only, or maybe you get a bunch of DLC purchases, that seems like a lot more money than whatever $15 a month.
There have been there's 2 questions here. Is Microsoft making money? Are game studios making money? Right.
Right.
So from the perspective of, it depends on the game studio, right? A lot of big game studios are probably kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that. Smaller ones like, come on, this is going to get us in front of people in ways that would be impossible otherwise.
Very difficult.
It's like you're an indie artist. How do you get on a radio station when radio stations mattered?
That makes sense. You're not going to see Madden on there. You're not going to see the big AAA titles on there.
I think these companies are restricted from speaking about specifics when it comes to money. But if you look up, I think there are videos on YouTube like this, I'm sure articles as well, where some people have said, hey, this has really worked out for us. They can't really get into specifics, probably because of a contractual thing, right? That would betray some sort of a competitive, whatever it is to Sony or whatever. But I I have seen instances where developers have come out and said, yeah, this is really valuable to us. Like, this is a big deal. It's also, by the way, a way for a game to have a second coming, right? So you make whatever splash you make when the game first comes out, and now you're just like a back title for some studio or for some publisher. And but one day it gets added to Game Pass, and then it gets in front of a whole new audience of people who are never going to pull it off. Well, they don't pull it off shelves anymore. They were never going to go buy it.
I guess that's the argument for selling your movie to Netflix, right? It's the same, same thing.
It's another revenue story.
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't preclude an art theater running it again. It's all those possibilities.
It's really interesting.
I don't think you can say it works out 100% for everybody. I don't think that's ever going to be true of anything. But the question is if this thing scales enough. And I think this is the bet. They're looking at Activision Blizzard and saying, look, if we get this is what puts us over the top. Right. It's a big bang way to make that happen.
And to some degree, it depends on what proportion of gamers are like you, Paul, where you play the same game over and over and over again. And what proportion of people like me where I'm not that committed. I might play a little this, a little of that. Next time it's this.
I haven't talked about this too much, but I have not played Call of Duty since the first week of March.
What?
And I have,
Did you go to a rehab program?
I'm doing all kinds of prescriptions and different things. No, I'm just trying different stuff, so I've been doing Xbox Game Pass. I'm playing different games. I've actually been playing Halo Infinite, go figure, which is, I can't say is a great game, but it's a well-made game. Yeah. It's actually a lot like a typical, like a Netflix movie these days, where it's like really well made. Was it great? I wouldn't say it was great, but it looks nice, that kind of thing. But I've been trying different stuff. I mean, I've been trying to figure something out there. So
interesting. That's it's a big shift for you.
The longest gap since the release of Call of Duty 2. There's no doubt about it.
Wow. Okay. What else you got next? Any more?
Xbox? Just a few more things. So the May Xbox update is out. The big thing here is that Discord, I feel like Discord integration came a few months ago, but I don't know if maybe they just improved it. The big thing is Discord integration, which I thought was already there, but Discord integration is either new or improved. I guess it's improved. I don't actually use this kind of thing on a console. It's an interesting.
Yeah, it's a particular style of play with Discord, right? Like if you don't want to set up a Twitch channel, you can be playing through Discord and other people can comment on your play.
Right.
Interesting aspects to it.
I used to like a million years ago when I was still PC gaming, although actually I should say for the past 2 months I've been PC gaming, but a million years ago, I used to get, put on a headset and I would talk to people we talk to people. We talk to each other in game. And we used to, a friend and I used to really make other people upset by just joking around the whole time. And everyone else was like, would you two shut the hell up? And we would just run around and we would just chase them around in like Quake or whatever the game was, Duke Nukem, and just belittle them the entire time, it's just, I was a terrible younger person. Anyway, there's a wireless controller update, a firmware update that you get with the May update. So you should be sure to install it. Oh, don't worry. You don't have to worry about installing it. It's mandatory. Just like the Windows 7 or Windows 11 updates, right?
So here's a question. Is there anything called Super Fiesta mode that's good?
So I would love to tell you, but here's the problem I have with this. So I just said I've been playing Halo Infinite. What I didn't say is I've been playing it on the PC. I've been playing it with a controller, so it's like a console, right? I have a serious problem. I don't know if it's this computer or where, I don't know what's going on, but this thing cannot download stuff from the Xbox app at all. So when I did an episode of Hands on Windows, weeks and weeks ago about the Xbox stuff, a couple of episodes, but when I did the Xbox Game Bar episode, I wanted to do some in-game footage. And this thing had downloaded the shell of it, Halo Infinite at the time, but not the game. So I couldn't actually go into the game and show the game. I'm like, what is this thing doing? And it just sits there. It's like downloading 0 of 82 gigabytes. So this Fiesta update, the May update for Halo Infinite has not downloaded. I don't have it yet. And as of until today, that's not been a problem. It just came out, I guess. But today, it's like, you can't start this game until we download the update. it won't download it. It's like literally on 0 of 8. It's 82 gigabytes. That's how big this thing is on the computer. So
Super Fiesta.
I know. So obviously,
It's
Super
a good
Fiesta,
name for a margarita.
Yeah.
It's a Cinco de Mayo thing because no one in this country understands Cinco de Mayo. Obviously, it's a multiplayer mode. It was previously available in Halo 5 Guardians. Blah blah blah. I don't know. It's just I don't know. I've been playing single player, so I don't know. I haven't tried it. I'm sorry. I just can't stand names like Super Fiesta mode.
Super Fiesta.
Come on.
Hilarious.
Yeah. What else we got here? So a couple of years ago, and maybe, I don't know if it was with the launch of the consoles or soon thereafter, Microsoft introduced its first set of external storage expansion cards for the Xbox Series X and X. They're made by Seagate, so you know they're terrible, and they're really expensive. And now they come in 512 gig, 1 terabyte, and 2 terabyte. I want to say when it first came out, it was just 1 or 2 terabyte. I don't remember, but now they have choices. They've always been really expensive, and the story from the beginning was always, "Oh, don't worry, there are going to be third-party versions." But they've never appeared. This is all we have. We have this one company making this one set of expansion cards. So now they are less expensive than they were before, and this is a permanent price cut. I'm trying to find the exact price. Oh, it obviously depends on which version you're getting, but the 500. Yeah, nothing. It's not tedious. I will go to Seagate now. I'm trying to find the price. I'm sorry. Yes. Nope. Still where to buy. I've gone to 3 different sites. It's like where to buy. Go here. Where to buy. Go here. Where to buy. Buy now.
Looking on Amazon.com.
Amazon,
the
yes.
terabyte ones for $150.
There you go. So I want to say it was double that probably when it first launched or something like that. It was a lot more expensive.
Do they really offer an 8 terabyte one? Maybe not.
I don't think they do. I think it's 512, 1 and 2, but I could be wrong. Yeah. That would be nice. Oh, here are the prices. I'm sorry. 512 is $90. Yeah, 1 terabyte, like say $149, and 2 terabytes is $279. So the joke at the time was the expansion card, it cost almost as much. The initial one cost almost as much as the console, right? Because if you bought an Xbox Series S, we would really need this thing. Because it comes with much less storage. It was super expensive. So actually, this is interesting. So apparently there is a Western Digital Xbox Series X and X expansion card coming. It has not been officially announced, but it appeared briefly in Best Buy. And Microsoft sort of said, "Hey, we always look at offering new choices, blah, 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 whatever." You know, they're not admitting it, but it is obviously coming. But, you know, how far are we into this? 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah.
3 years. There's only been this one choice, and you know, whatever. So eventually that's going to change. Okay, what else? Oh, and then the last story is just the Nintendo Switch sales stuff. So Nintendo announced their quarterly earnings. This is the second year in a row. Yeah, they I mean, honestly, this thing has done great overall, but for the second year in a row, sales have gone down. Last year was 18 million units. This is last fiscal year. This now they expect 15 million units this fiscal year.
Machine, like I think pretty much people who wanted to buy it have bought it.
Yeah, but this is where this thing is.
Broken ones at this point, stolen.
Well,
ones.
they could do a 4K version.
They released an OLED version a couple of years ago that was very.
There's
good.
a light version. Yep.
And
I know, but
I mean, I have couples.
They could do a 4K. But they're not going to. The Nintendo has said, we're not doing Pro. We're going to have a new console. They could announce that as soon as this year, by the way.
How long has this been out? They were due for a new console.
2017, so 6 years.
That's a long time. Yeah.
Here's the thing. They've sold 125 million units, right? That puts it in third place all time.
Yeah.
Only the original PlayStation 2, which is over 155 million units, and the Nintendo DS, which is about 154 million units, have outsold it in the history of video games. So pretty impressive.
People are still buying Switches, like lots of them. So it could beat them all in a few years.
Yep. I was too lazy to look this up, but Sony, recently announced how many PlayStation 5s they've sold since that thing came out, and it was 38.5 million units. And it's like, okay, what year did I could probably go back and look to see where the Switch was at that point in time. but I'll just tell you off the top of my head, it was obviously much higher, but the conditions are different. These two consoles are at different ballparks price-wise. And the PlayStation 5 came out right in the middle of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And there was all kinds of, supply issues and component supply issues and all that kind of stuff. So it's not really fair to do that, but it's probably fair to say, although Sony claims otherwise, Sony seems to think they have the possibility of outselling the previous gen. And the previous gen, I want to say I think it was 120 something. It was a pretty big number. I don't think they're ever going to do that, but maybe Nintendo will have something a little more competitive from a technical perspective this time around. We'll see.
They got to be working on some new hardware. It has been a while.
They could do that. The Switch is an awesome platform.
Yeah.
Do you know it's not? Did Nintendo create a purpose-built OS just for the Switch, or is it? It's not Windows, is it? What's behind the? It's not Android. Maybe it's purpose-built. I guess the reason I asked that question is they could make a newer platform that was compatible so that they wouldn't throw away the old games, just as any other console would. I love the Switch. I mean, the Switch is really a great platform, I have to say.
Yep.
All right, let's take a little break. Back of the book coming up, Brown Liquor, tips, tricks. I want to just quickly go down to the Twit Studios South.
What am I...
They are gathering right now at Google for a very special All About Android. There was Jason Howell, Ron Richards on the left, Wintu Dow, and I think one of their very special guests.
That guy was on stage.
Yeah, from Google. So this is very exciting. They're going to record it. They're not going to stream it live. They're going to record it. It will air as soon as it's done on our Twit News feed. So if you're not yet subscribed to Twit News, subscribe because they're going to have a number of people who were on stage at the Google event. This is going to be really cool. We've done this in the past. We're all set up. They're all set up down there at the Googleplex, getting ready for a very special All About Android coming up in just I guess a few hours. They'll be doing it. They'll be doing it in a few minutes, but we're not going to stream it live. But we will have it by this evening or early tomorrow morning. Subscribe, twit.tv/news. Meanwhile, let's talk about, here's this is a brand new sponsor. We're thrilled to have AWS Insiders. The AWS Insiders podcast is a sponsor, fast-paced, entertaining, and I think really interesting look behind the scenes of AWS and cloud computing, Amazon Web Services. Now, this isn't your typical Talking Heads tech podcast, like, say, I don't know, something we might do. High production value, high energy, high entertainment, and full of great, interesting, my favorite part, anecdotes from the early days of AWS to today and then to tomorrow as well. Rahul Subramaniam is the host, along with Hillary Doyle. They are very knowledgeable. They dig into the current state and future of AWS. But they also bring in great guests talking with people and companies that know it best. Rahul is an AWS pro, 15 years managing more than 45,000 AWS instances. I mean, this guy knows how to push an AWS product to its limits, and he is absolutely a believer in the future of AWS as in a way, the operating system of the future, right? AWS Insiders. You gotta write this down and subscribe. Full of information, opinions, takeaways, untold stories about the challenges, innovations, and mind-blowing promise of cloud computing. And honestly, you've got two hosts who are very good, and Rahul really knows AWS. I'll give you some examples. Their season 2 just came out. Episode 1, Filling the Cloud Talent Gap. They talk about staffing your cloud team with the right resources. One of the hardest things to do, too, of course. Rahul and Hillary discuss solutions to finding, retaining, and leveling up cloud talent. Episode 2 was actually fascinating. Moderna version 1, Rahul and Hillary talk about when Moderna was born in the cloud in 2010. AWS was brand new, only, I think, a few years old by then. They talk about how Moderna uses the cloud to become one of the top biotech companies out there. That one's really interesting. Search for AWS Insiders on your podcast player. You can also go directly to the site cloudfix.aurea.com/podcast. Cloudfix, just like it sounds, .aurea.com/podcast. I figure you probably know how to spell podcast. We'll also include a link if you go to twit.tv/WW. It'll be there in the show notes. Thanks so much to AWS Insiders for their support. Really interesting show. Check it out. Cloudfix.aurea.com/podcast. Or just look for AWS Insiders on your favorite podcast player. All right. Now, let's see here. Oops. There they are again. Oh, Ooh, there's the Irish guy. Ooh, this is going to be good. The Irish guy. That'll be I'm really looking forward to this Twit News special coming up. They're getting ready to get that started. But before we do that, let's go to Paul Thurrott because it's time for the tip of the week.
Just want to point out that it's gotten dark where Richard is.
Yes.
Because he's in Europe and stuff.
Yes. It's late night. Late night for Richard.
It's 11 o'clock here.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get this over with. We're almost done.
No, it's just I just always enjoy that about the.
I know it's fun,
European
isn't it? Yeah,
it's fun. It's just interesting watching it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had just recorded an episode of Hands on Windows where we talked about keyboard shortcuts, and it occurred to me that this is an excellent example of something where it. Did I just say keyboard screenshot? Yeah. Screenshots. Geez, I am literally losing my mind today. I did an episode about screenshots, not about keyboard shortcuts.
Yeah, but there were
one of those too.
Shortcuts to get the screenshots.
That's right. And that's what I kind of wanted to go through because this is about to change. And I think that's really interesting. So Microsoft has various tools built into Windows for taking screenshots. Some of them date back literally to the original version of MS-DOS and the IBM PC, which had a dedicated print screen key. We still have that key on our computer. It no longer is used to print out to a printer. It prints out a screenshot to the clipboard, which is kind of probably not what people might expect. And so I just wanted to run through a couple of these real quick and then tell you about how it's going to change. So right now, if you hit print screen on your keyboard, a screenshot is captured, but it's captured to memory. It's captured to the clipboard, and you can paste that into another application and then save it or do whatever you want. You can also do something called Alt plus print screen to capture just the current window, the window that has the focus. In Windows, I want to say it was probably Windows 8 because that's when we started going to these kind of tablet-y type devices, but they added a Windows key plus print screen keyboard shortcut that not only takes a screenshot, but saves it to a file, which is kind of neat. It creates a screenshot folder in your pictures folder where you can go find the screenshot in PNG format, which is nice. And you might assume, well, of course, there must be an Alt plus print screen or Alt plus Windows key plus print screen, and there is. But that's been taken over by Xbox Game Bar for reasons I don't care to get into, but it's crazy. But the problem with that, the reason you need to know that is it still gets saved. You can still save a file that is a screenshot of an application window that way, but that is saved in the captures folder, which is in your videos folder. And I know.
Wow.
I know. Now, in Windows 10 and 11, there's a new tool, and it's changed a few times, but now it's called the snipping tool. And if you bring it up, you will see that there is a keyboard shortcut for that. But you can, if you like the snipping tool, and I don't, but if you do, you can change it to be what happens when you hit print screen, which is kind of interesting. You have to do that in Windows settings, and it brings you to the accessibility section of settings, and you'll see an option in there. For use, the print screen button to open screen snipping, as they call it there for some reason. This is going to be the default in Windows 11 soon. And I don't know if that means Windows 11 23H2 or before then, but it is happening sometime this year. So they're actually going to change the meaning of print screen for the first time since Windows was released back in 1985. So that's happening soon. Now, the other part of this tip is the one thing you cannot get with any tool built into Windows is the mouse cursor. So if you wanted to get the little pointer in the screenshot, you actually have to use a third party utility.
You don't want the mouse cursor, but sometimes you do.
Well, depending on what you're doing. If you're training or like, I write books and stuff, I need that. So if you do want that, you need a third party utility. I use something called GreenShot, which is free. There are a lot of tools. ShareX is another one that's a good one that people like. So
people like GreenShot.
Some of that guys.
Recon 5 on our Discord says he likes it. This is good. Hey, and that is an example of what you're missing if you are not a Club Twit member, because the Hands on Windows show is a great show for the club. We sometimes release episodes. I think actually that one of those episodes is going to be released onto the.
Yeah, actually, that one
YouTube.
might be one of the ones.
I think it is.
That one
yeah.
might be coming free. Yeah,
so we put those out on YouTube. But if you want to see them all, or the Hands on Macintosh, or the Untitled Linux show, or the Stacy's Book Club, or now we brought back Home Theater Geeks, the club is a great place to do that. $7 a month gets you ad-free versions of all of our shows, access to the Club Twit Discord, and the feed with all a bunch of shows that we don't put out anywhere else, because we really want to make the club a great place to be. By the way, I should point out tomorrow, Alex Wilhelm's AMA. Aunt Pruitt is begging you for questions for Alex. He's now a news editor at TechCrunch, but you know him from Twit. Alex, a great guy, expert on finance. Ask him about crypto. Ask him about the current down slump in the tech community, that kind of thing. Ask him what it's like living in my childhood home and what they did with my bedroom. He literally does. He lives in my childhood home in Providence, Rhode Island. Anyway, that's tomorrow morning. If you're around, if you're a Club Twit member, just to go to the specials section, you'll see that. Club Twit members get a lot more access, and that's kind of by intent, because we want to encourage people to join. Twit.tv/ClubTwit if you're not yet a member, and get Paul's fabulous series. We should have, in hindsight, made that whiskey series part of the club too.
Still good. Still good.
Still not too late. Not too late. You have an app pick, Paul.
Yeah, I have two in a way. So Stardock today released Groupie 2, and that I was sort of thinking about this. If you go back to the great tab wars of 2017, you may remember that Microsoft was going to add tabs to everything in Windows 10 via a feature called Sets. They actually tested it, the Insider program. Everyone loved it. And they said, just kidding. They took it away. And then years later in Windows 11, they added it to File Explorer first and then to Notepad. So they're kind of doing it on an app-by-app basis now. I'm sure there were technical reasons. Somehow, Stardock was able to work around those, because in 2017, they released something called Groupie that added tabs to every single window in Windows 10.
You have to ask Brad, what do they have? They have special programmers or what?
I don't know.
What do they do?
Have there's a lower bar for them. But so the interesting thing to me about Groupie is I kind of forgot about it. I mean, I know it exists and whatever, but Groupie 2, it just came out in beta today. So it's been 6 years. Wow. And now it supports Windows 11, of course. The key new thing here, obviously Windows 11 support, Windows 11 look and feel and all that stuff. There's a couple of new things, but the key one to me is they have a grouping feature, go figure, that lets you save a group of applications that are together with a set of tabs in one window, pin that to the taskbar. It looks like a cool Windows 11 folder, with the little, icons for each of the apps. And when you click it, they all open in the same window with the tabs. That sounds kind of obvious, but kind of a neat feature. And there's some color coding and some other stuff. But the good news here is if you don't own this, it is now, it's normally $9.99, which is not expensive, but it's on sale for $6.99 if you want to take a look at that. So I think you can just download it for free and try it first if you want to do that. And then just real quick, Firefox 113 is out this week. There's a bunch of new features in there, improvements to the picture-in-picture stuff, improvements to private windows and passwords and accessibility, blah, blah, blah. But this one thing really stuck out to me. I just thought this was beautiful. Mozilla fixed a 13-year-old bug that has been a feature request since then that allows Firefox to now support files being dragged and dropped directly out of Microsoft Outlook. So it never worked before. I guess you could drag and drop files out of Outlook to the desktop, obviously to other applications. Firefox never worked as a drop target, and I guess now it does. So if you are that weird person who is using Microsoft Outlook and Firefox, God bless you, that will not work. So I just thought that was kind of cool.
It's about time.
Yeah, finally.
Of course, if you use Firefox, you get these updates automatically, and I do. That's my default browser everywhere. And by
the way, did you hear? I think is Mullvad the VPN company? Is that right? Mullvad. Yeah. I guess they have a new privacy browser based on Firefox.
Oh, that's funny because Firefox has been reselling Mullvad as their VPN, I think.
Coincidental? I don't think so. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Firefox is open source. There's a fork of it called Ice Weasel.
That's a great name.
Great.
Great name.
Actually, I think there's several forks of it.
What's the point of Ice Weasel other than having an excellent name?
It's unencumbered. I can't remember what distro uses it, but it's got no proprietary code in it at all. It's fully open source.
For those guys.
The people who care. What is Richard Campbell coming up on Run As Radio next?
This week's show I did with Jen Sheeran has been on a few times, and she's always been one of my go-tos for Azure Virtual Desktop. So this is the tool to basically allow you to host a desktop environment in the cloud that then might have special privileges into different resources. AVD got a huge kick in the arm during the pandemic when IT folks were struggling with apps that did not work well over VPNs. So rather than trying to run the client at home through a VPN to a backend service, you ship the whole thing into the cloud, and then you give them credentials to get into these cloud instances. Think modernized terminal services, a little more efficient, a little more cost effective. And this week's show was really a focus on the fact that it's now part of the cloud adoption framework. So they've built better tooling to make it easy for you to follow your security and landing pads solutions. But Jen also dug into the idea that, certain classes of application are just well served by AVD. So no reason for you to only take your existing apps and move them. If you've got certain kinds of apps running that would work well in the scenario, it's for greenfield deployments as well. So fun conversation.
Azure Virtual Desktop Accelerator with Jen Sheeran, runasradio.com. You also find .NET Rocks there. Now, let's talk whiskey, baby.
I figured we'd recap the entire Scottish whiskey conversation.
Good. I want to especially go deep into barrels. I feel like we didn't get enough barrel
How is
content.
AI impacting Scottish?
35 minutes of barrels, not enough for
I am
Leo.
going to bring out one of these days. Stacey Higginbotham must have been as an insult or a joke. No, it was Amy Webb sent me a bottle of synthetic whiskey.
Oh boy.
It's a San Francisco startup, and I guess they're using flavor pellets or something to simulate an aged whiskey. I mean, it's alcoholic. The alcohol's real, but the flavor is, and it tastes that way, to be honest with you.
Interesting.
I'm not going to recommend it. Let's put it that way. Give us something you would drink. How about that?
A whiskey I just encountered for the first time today since I was in the Netherlands. I had an opportunity to taste a little Bus whiskey. So the Bus whiskey is a Dutch-based whiskey maker, and they make a series of special editions.
Can I stop you right there for 1 second? I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. We have to address what you just said. A Dutch whiskey maker?
Yeah.
Is this a thing?
You could have made Geneva, but you chose not to hurt people.
I've spent a lot of time.
If you're making beer, it's not such a far.
I don't think I've ever heard of a Dutch.
Different set of stills. Me neither, but I had a chance to taste it. In fact, I got a little right here, and the fruit note was surprising. Like, it's very approachable on the nose. When you actually drink it, it is these are cask strength and single malts, so they come across quite potent depending on the bottling. The bottles run about 65 euros a piece. That's
it's
$2
$106 proof. Ooh.
Yeah, depends on the version, right?
Yeah, that's number 20.
Yeah. Wow. So you can there's some potent ones.
Dunk your Donica Barb in there. Be good.
Very, very drinkable.
Nice.
And nice to see. It's just a sort of a sign that it's becoming easier to make good whiskey in lots of places.
What I like about this company's website is that it has introduced a third level of age check. Sometimes you'll see one, it will say you actually have to put in your birth date, which is crazy. And then sometimes it will say, are you over 21? And it's like, yes or no. And then this one, it says, are you over 21? And there's just one button that says yes.
The Dutch get right down to it. They don't
there's no getting by it.
No.
You're getting into
the Microsoft style. So here, this is the whiskey. It's called Glyph. And it's provocative spirits for curious minds, small batch, hand bottled, proudly made by Endless West. Tradition is
I think you should try that as soon as right now.
No, I've tried it.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. All of the
follows
spirit,
nothing.
none of the rules, it says. We've never shied away from doing things differently. Learn more. They're trying to simulate a sherry cask.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but they call it spirit whiskey with natural flavors. That should give you some idea. Get the bus.
There you go.
Get on the bus.
Get on the bus.
Get on the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm headed to Antwerp next week and the whole diamond thing, right? And these days we get synthetic diamonds that by any measure are superior to the natural diamonds. And cost less, but still have a stigma related to them because they're not natural.
I tried to buy Redbreast last week, by the way. It's completely struck out.
It's because of him. This guy, he's ready to run on the Redbreast.
They just sold. No, they literally. I asked. They said, "Yeah, we just sold the last one."
It's so.
And then I bought another Woodford Reserve just to
can't go wrong.
Well, I had to get something. I was there.
Yeah, and we saw some folks posting up on Twitter about Nikkei. So folks are trying the whiskeys.
That's good.
Yep, that's good.
Well, I think Woodford Reserve was the sponsor of the Kentucky Derby this year. So
that happened. The tough Derby though lost a few good horses. So
yeah, more than a few.
A few good hats too.
Kind of shocking. Yeah.
Another hat goes down.
My friends, I hate to say it, but it's time to say goodbye to the wonderful Richard Campbell. RunHisRadio.com. Enjoy the Low Country and Antwerp. Yeah.
Right.
A little further south. Next week we'll be at a different location.
That'll be fun.
That's cool.
Paul Thurrott.com, leanpub.com is where you'll find the field guide to Windows 11 and his new book, Windows Everywhere. Two good books at one good place, leanpub.com. Thank you both for being here. Appreciate your being patient.
We watched it, what are you going to do?
Actually now I've been looking as we've been doing the show at all the news announcements, and actually I think Google had a lot of great stuff that they could have talked about.
Yeah. I will say during the course of this show, I think there were 250 Google news releases. It's going to take me a long time to get through this.
And a lot of it, frankly, is more interesting than what they talked about. I feel like they hid their light under a bushel. Or a bus whiskey. I don't know. They could have done a better job. Let's put it that way of showing off some good stuff. We'll talk about it on Twig in just a few minutes.
Google though. That's just the way
so
they do
Google.
things.
That's so Google. We do Windows Weekly on a normal Wednesday at about 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. You can tune in and watch us do it live if you want, or listen live at live.twit.tv. There's live audio and video streams. After the fact, on-demand versions at twit.tv/WW. And if you're at the website, you'll see there's a link to a YouTube channel dedicated to Windows Weekly. There's also links to your favorite podcast players. Actually, it doesn't matter what you listen to podcasts on. You can just, type in Windows Weekly. You'll find it. We've been around for a long, long time. We're everywhere. Please do subscribe. We'd appreciate it. We'd also appreciate your membership in Club Twit, and a big tip of the hat and a thank you to all our Club Twit members. We will be back here next Wednesday. I hope you will too. Thanks for joining us on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.
Hey, we should talk Linux. It's the operating system that runs the internet, but your game consoles, cell phones, and maybe even the machine on your desk. But you already knew all that. What you may not know is that Twit now has a show dedicated to it, the Untitled Linux Show. Whether you're a Linux pro, a burgeoning sysadmin, or just curious what the big deal is, you should join us on the Club Twit Discord every Saturday afternoon for news, analysis, and tips to sharpen your Linux skills. And then make sure you subscribe to the Club Twit exclusive Untitled Linux Show. Wait, you're not a Club Twit member yet? Well, go to twit.tv/clubtwit and sign up. Hope to see you there.